Hey guys, Loot Wizard here with another video on Gems of War, and in this one I wanted to do something a little bit different. A video that I might turn into a series that every new week there are new troops that show up in the jewel crafting section, as well. Besides the jewels for crafting troops, there's also the legendary and mythic troops that do show up here in this section as well. So I'm thinking of doing maybe a series on this where I just basically cover which troops are available here for jewels, and also mention some of the legendaries and mythics that are in the crafting Soulforge for this week, and just kind of, give my opinion on which troops I think are good to craft for that week if you have enough diamonds. Now, jewels are actually, you get these when you do your dungeons for the day, and they do add up. So if you look at mine here, I have lots of jewels for just doing dungeons daily, and I don't really use them that often anymore. But one of the things early game that you can really get a use out of these jewels is by crafting some of these uh, troops here that show up in these sections. Now, not all the troops are useful, so that's why I will point out, like, if I think one of the troops is worth it, then you can go for it. Like in this section for this week, I wouldn't really recommend spending any jewels to try to get any of these troops. None of these are really fantastic. So, the parrot here is a bounty troop, which can still be useful for silencing, but I think that's easy enough to get without having to use jewels. For green jewels, there's nothing really this week here either. And that's the thing too about jewels. Okay, so you have different colored jewels, and they correspond to the different mana or gem colors. So for blue, all of these troops are going to have blue in their mana color. So it's basically picks out a random rarity between white, green, blue, and purple cards for that week that have blue in here. So you can find some pretty good troops in here that can really help out early on. Now, you're probably wondering, do legendary troops show up in here? And the answer is no. This only goes up to purple. Now, when I click on it, it does look like a legendary card, but that's because I've ascended the card high enough to be a legendary, which just increases its stats. It doesn't give it any other special thing besides its already traits and talents and things like that. So there's nothing really useful there this week for green, red, and now this is like a bug. I'm not sure why they don't have stone here for red summoning. This is a bug that's been here for at least since the last major update, and they just haven't seen that that's a bug yet. Kind of interesting. But I will say here, for Red Day, Azirus is absolutely worth getting, and it's a little bit higher rarity, so you might not, if you're lower level, you might not get lucky enough to get it early on. But Azirus is really, really good troop with Mang. If you're building a Mang team, now if you don't know what Mang is, it's a weapon that you do get from leveling up, so it's not a weapon that you have to get in a special event. You will simply get Mang if you just play the game, you level up. I think you get it by level, I don't know, 50, 100, I forget, but it's pretty early on. And so Mang converts the enemy's armor into your attack for your hero, so it can get a crazy amount of attack. Now, as you probably know, attack damage is for when you connect skulls, and that attack damage will then hit the opponent at the top. So why is Azirus really great with Mang? It's because of its unique ability here to transform a selected mana gem into a skull. And if there are 13 or more purple gems on the board, gain 6 mana, which is all the mana that it takes. Also, it has Magic Link if you do have enough trait stones to unlock all of its traits. It does have Magic Link, which gains a bonus to purple mana. So, and it only has 6 mana. It's very low mana cost. You can fill this thing up really quick. And so why is it really a powerful card here? I think it's one of the most underrated cards in the game. Because when you have that with a main weapon or some kind of high skull damage troop, you can, sometimes when the board falls down, all the different gems line up and everything. A lot of times you'll just have like 2 skulls that are next to each other, or you'll have 2 skulls separated by 1 gem in between them, and you don't have any, connections for a 3 match of a skull. Well, with Azirus, you can select 1 mana gem and turn it into a skull. That is just a really great ability. So I would say that I would recommend this is definitely, if you don't have Azirus, he's definitely worth gambling for with your jewels. So how does this quite work? Well, it takes 100 souls and 50 of the color that you're gambling with here. Well, it's crafting, but I don't know. I kind of think of it more as gambling, because what it's going to do is it's going to give you one of these randomly. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have a 1 in 8 chance to get an Azirus if you hit this. Now you can go like this, and you can say, well, it's 1 in 8. Now, this here for 800 souls and 400 red gems, you can have 8 chances of getting Azirus. But I'm just gonna do 1 here, just so you can see how it works. And it says red summoning stone, yes. And it turns out that I got this white rarity remnant card instead. So you could keep doing 1 at a time, or you could hit this and do a bunch at a time. Depends on how many jewels you have and souls. So I would say this week, if you don't have Azirus, go ahead, try to get him. Because, again, not even just for PvP, Azirus with Ming works really great for like Tower of Doom events and some of the other events as well. Even for pet rescue, like if you're early on, lower levels, Ming with Azirus absolutely kills pet rescued. So totally recommend that. For the yellow, let's see here. I wouldn't really recommend gambling too much for any of these. The Dryad, I remember getting Dryad pretty early on. It's a decent troop. It gives life and it heals, and then barrier, it creates 8 green gems, has nature link. It's pretty decent. This one, yeah, it's okay early on as well, but it loses its power pretty quickly. As soon as you start to get a few other dragon troops, this one falls off pretty quickly. Purple, let's see here. Yeah, I would say, well, Thrall is pretty easy to get, and this is also a great troop for destroying random gems. It also has magic link. But it's pretty easy to get with like gold keys, so I would say it's not worth it for him. Greed is absolutely like essential for the gold key, the skeleton key, gold team. But he's a green rarity, so you could probably get him in regular keys. If you don't have him though, it's probably worth using a few jewels to try to get them, just so you have them. Brown, yeah, I would say nothing here in brown is worth it. Ferret, I believe you get him in the quest line for Karakoth, so he is not worth it. And Braxis is just for a raid boss. That's not really worth it unless you're later on in the game and you want to increase his rarity, because he does damage based upon his ascension. So right now I only have him ascended to legendary, so I could try to get him up to mythic by getting extra ones of him here. So if you're later in the game, you could try getting him, but there's nothing really in brown here that's fantastic either. So for this week, I would say red is with Aziris is your best troop this week for there. Now moving on to legendaries. Legendaries that are available is the Jarl Fire Mantle legendary, which is a pretty good legendary, but I don't think he's worth crafting in the Forge for 800 diamonds here. Now, the Dragon Soul definitely is worth your 800 diamonds, your 5,000 souls, because the Dragon Soul will give you lots of souls early on in the game if you build like a basic dragon team. And there's other cards too that you can build around this, so it's not just an all dragon team, but Dragon Soul will, in its ability here, gain 15 souls. It explodes gems, so it's a mana generator, which is amazing. Then it does damage to all enemies. And it does have the 50% chance to become a baby dragon with full mana on death. Yeah, it's not super amazing, but its traits don't really matter. What you're really looking for is the souls here early on in the game. So right now, I would say definitely if you have the 800 diamonds to spend and you're early on, you do not have the Dragon Soul yet, I would say go ahead, get the Dragon Soul, because you really need those souls uh, to help you get stronger in the game. Willow, not worth it. It's a decent legendary, works good in certain cases, but it's not worth the 800 diamonds. Same thing with Nimue. She's pretty good, but Dragon Soul wins out of the legendaries for this week. Now, for mythic troops, we have the Voice of Orpheus. We have the Weaver. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. I'm going to mess it up, I know. So I'm just going to call him the Weaver. And then we have the High King Iron Gut, and we have TNE. Now, I would say out of these four mythic troops, I would go with Weaver, honestly. I think Weaver is probably the best one out of these four. The second to Weaver would probably be the High King Iron Gut, because he has basically his Devour chance is equal to his attack. So if you increase his attack to 100 attack, its base is 35. So if you increase it to 100 attack, he's going to have a 100% chance to Devour. Now, there are a lot of troops and even some hero classes that have an immunity to Devour, so that is something where he becomes basically useless. But when you're doing high-level delves and certain things like that, even in Pet Rescue occasionally, you could use the High King Iron Gut to Devour 100% chance. But I would still go with Weaver if you do not have either of them. So yeah, that's my recommendations for troops here in the Soulforge this week. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, as always, and later.